Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The 2022 Maritime Week opening ceremony will shortly begin at 10 a.m. Please enter the hall and take your seats. The Korea Maritime Week opening ceremony will soon begin. Now, this event will mainly be held in English, and we'll be providing you with simultaneous interpretation. Interpretation receivers should be lying on your table. Now, channel 1 is for English into Korean, and channel 2 is for Korean into English. And I'd also like to ask you to please turn off your cell phones or put them into silent mode. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The 2022 Korea Maritime Week will soon begin at 10 a.m. So for those of you who are now entering the room, please take your seats. Now, this event will mainly be moderated in English and we'll be providing you with simultaneous interpretation. On your table, you will find the devices. Now, channel 1 is for English to Korean, and channel 2 is for Korean into English. Now, all of our guests who are now entering, please take your seats. We will begin in a few minutes. And I would also like you to please turn off your cell phones or put them into silent mode. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in a bit. Ladies and gentlemen, we will soon kick off with our opening ceremony. So everyone who's still standing, please take your seats now. We will begin in a few minutes. 네, 지금 들어오시는 분들은 이제 착석해 주시길 부탁드리겠습니다. 잠시 후 개회식이 시작되겠습니다. 감사합니다. 네, 여러분 잠시 후 개회식이 시작되겠습니다. 이제 모두 자리에 착석해 주시길 부탁드리겠습니다. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2022 Korea Maritime Week will soon begin, so please take your seats now. Ladies and gentlemen, our distinguished guests have now arrived here at the venue. Let's welcome them with a huge round of applause. Yes, our distinguished guests are now entering the venue to commemorate with us together the opening ceremony of the 2022 Korea Maritime Week. Let's give them another big welcoming applause. Our distinguished guests, including the Vice Minister of the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, as well as the Secretary General of the IMO, have now arrived here at the venue. Thank you very much for your attendance. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. Welcome to the 2022 Korea Maritime Week. My name is Soa Kwon, and it is my absolute honor to be your MC for this opening ceremony today. 네, 여러분 반갑습니다. 오늘 개회식의 사회를 맡은 저는 아리랑 TV 아나운서 권소아입니다. 반갑습니다. Thank you very much. With your attendance, we have now commenced the opening ceremony of the 2022 Korea Maritime Week. Now, first of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to everyone for joining us today, despite a long distance for many of you. And to thank you for being part for a successful hosting of the 2022 Korea Maritime Week. This year's Korea Maritime Week will be held under the theme Challenges and Tasks in the International Maritime Sector in the New Normal Era. Top maritime experts from Korea and abroad will take part in in-depth discussions on international issues evolving around maritime safety as well as maritime environment. Moreover, this year's Korea Maritime Week will be especially meaningful because for the first time in 3 years, we could gather in person with so many guests from here in Korea and abroad, because in the past 3 years, it was difficult due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The 2022 Korea Maritime Week conference will run for 3 days until the 23rd this month. I hope it will be an interesting and meaningful event for all of our participants. Let me first introduce to you our distinguished guests who are attending today's ceremony despite their busy schedules. Now, when I call out their names one by one, please welcome them with a big round of applause. Now, first, we are joined by a member of the National Assembly of the People Power Party, Byung-gil An. Thank you very much. And next, we have the Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, Ki-taek Lim. Thank you for your attendance. And we have the President of the Korea Ocean Business Corporation, Yang-soo Kim. Thank you very much. And we have the President of the Sea Power League of the Republic of Korea, Yoon Hee Choi. And also, let me introduce the Philippines ambassador to the Republic of Korea, Her Excellency Maria Teresa Dizon de Vega. Thank you for your attendance. And next, the Vice Mayor of Administrative of the Busan Metropolitan City, Byung-jin Lee. Thank you very much. And last but not least, from the host and organizer, the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, Vice Minister Sang Keun-song. Thank you very much to all of our distinguished guests for attending this opening ceremony. And also, we would ask for a kind understanding that we cannot introduce you to each and every guest due to time constraints. And now we will have an opening speech by Sang Keun-song, the Vice Minister of the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, which is the host and organizer of the 2022 Korea Maritime Week. Let's give a big round of applause to Vice Minister Sang Keun-song.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I sincerely welcome and thank you all to attend the 2022 Korea Maritime Week. Due to the impact of COVID-19, Korea Maritime Week has been held in hybrid format for the past 2 years. With this in mind, it is a great pleasure to be able to host this year's Maritime Week as a fully on-site event and meet all of the participants personally. I would also like to express my deepest gratitude to An Byung-gil, policymaker of Korea National Assembly, and Ki-taek Lim, Secretary General of IMO, and Maria Teresa, the Ambassador of Philippine Embassy in Korea, and Lee Byung-jin, the Vice Mayor of Busan City. I am also grateful to the moderator and speakers for taking charge of a presentation for all the session. 우리말로 하겠습니다.
I will speak in Korean. Distinguished guests, Korea Maritime Week has been dealing with various topics such as battling pirates in navigation, responses to climate change in shipping and shipbuilding. We have conducted in-depth discussion and presentations through the Korea Maritime Week, and it has also proposed vision for the future. In the World Economic Forum, 10 threats have been announced. The biggest threat was related to our response to climate crisis. Across the world, climate crisis has become more serious than before. So in all industries, decarbonization is an urgent task we have to achieve. We have the Secretary General of IMO here. In 2018, IMO established the initial goals to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And currently, active discussion is undergoing at IMO to adjust the greenhouse gas emission target upward. Under MARPOL Convention, short-term measures have also been adopted, and mid-term measures such as carbon pricing and carbon levy are also under discussion, which will be reflected in the possible amendment of IMO regulations. And in the UN conference, where many countries participated, including the US and Europe, they discussed ideas to establish carbon-free route. They also discussed the needs to support various countries, including developing countries, in decarbonization efforts. In order to respond to this international trend, the Korean government has also established carbon neutrality scenario and carbon neutrality goals, which are expected to be reached by 2050. We have also established Green Ship K strategy to achieve decarbonization in shipping. According to the Green Ship K strategy, in the short term, we will promote low carbon vessels like LNG powered vessels, and we will also facilitate the development of hydrogen fueled ships and ammonia fueled ships. The international community is responding to climate crisis through decarbonization efforts and adoption of maritime autonomous surface ships. Such transition and changes are taking place at a rapid pace. Regarding the operation of MAS, we are making efforts to develop technologies to facilitate early adoption of MAS. Such technology development and research efforts are currently in progress. Distinguished guests, in the international maritime sector, decarbonization and digitalization are the critical trend that we must embrace. We are moving towards 2D era, which means 2D refers to digitalization and decarbonization. These efforts require the participation and cooperation from various international organizations, national governments, and civil society. For common prosperity, we have to come together and create vision for the future. I want to emphasize two things. First of all, in order to ensure decarbonization and digitalization in our sector, we have to emphasize the importance of science-based, evidence-based approach. Through scientific approach and demonstration efforts, we need to prepare ourselves in this great trend. And secondly, in order to solve those problems, we must ensure international solidarity and cooperation. Decarbonization cannot be achieved by just one single country. Developed countries, developing countries, and semi-developed countries should come together to cooperate with each other to solve these problems. Here in Busan, Korea Maritime Week is being held, and in this event, we have prepared international maritime high-level talks. I hope that through those talks and events, we will be able to reach solutions to achieving decarbonization. Also, let us find common goals and future directions together. In our response to these global issues, the Korean government will make strenuous efforts. Thank you very much for your participation again.
For those opening remarks and also highlighting how we have to prepare for an era of decarbonization and digitalization. Let's give the Vice Minister another big round of applause. And next, in representation of the National Assembly, People Power Party Representative Byung-gil-an will deliver a congratulatory speech. Let's welcome him with a warm round of applause.
Your Excellencies, and ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests, good morning. I'm Byung-gil. I'm a National Assembly representative of Busan. It is my great pleasure to join you in this event, which is being held under the theme of challenges and tasks in the international maritime sector in the new normal era. We are having international maritime high-level discussion at the site with Korea Maritime Week. I was told that we are going to discuss green ships and eco-friendly ships and international cooperation for further development of the maritime sector. And we are going to have expert sessions where we will share insight and in-depth discussion regarding the international maritime industry's pending issues. As you may well know, Korea has been working as a member of the A group of the IMO. We have been working and engaged in the group for 11 years, 11 consecutive years. As a member, Korea has been recognized one of the strong maritime leaders, and its contribution to the global maritime sector has been recognized as well. And last year, a new organization was formed, which was also a recognition for Korea's hard work and commitment in the global maritime sector. Looking back, this wouldn't have been possible without Korea's hard work since 2007 in Korea Maritime Week, and Korea has put its ideas into actions to respond to climate change and other international maritime issues. But we shouldn't be complacent. We have a long way to go. That is why we are gathered here together, and I believe the roles of the government agencies and officials and all the stakeholders are very important. And I've prepared 4 different sessions and workshops for this sector. A few days ago, I had held a workshop for the fishery issues. And I emphasized there that in order to effectively respond to climate change, we have to come up with a blueprint. In this Maritime Week, we are going to discuss decarbonization and production and supply of alternative fuels and biofueling. We are going to discuss different topics and issues. And I truly hope we can come up with great ideas and share insight. Let me tell you one more thing. It is high time for Korea to emerge as a global maritime power. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and Russia's invasion in Ukraine and the semiconductor rivalry between the US and China and other Korean and international issues have made it very difficult to establish and maintain reliable supply chain. The Korean government has a goal of building a new maritime logistics hub. We should work together beyond our differences for the interests of the nation's economy. Once again, I'd like to thank Vice Minister of Oceans and Fisheries for making today's event possible. I'd like to thank the hard work of the staff, and I'd like to also thank officials of Busan City, including the Vice Mayor, for making today's event possible. My thanks also go to Secretary General of IMO, Im Gi-taek, for being with us. Thank you so much for coming to the event. And Maria Teresa de John de Vega, and Dodo Ki and Hanwha Ni, the presidents of Korea Maritime Ocean University and Mokpo Maritime and Ocean University. Thank you so much for being with us. I hope this event will be an opportunity for you to share great ideas so that we can further develop the international maritime sector. Thank you.
Said we indeed wish for detailed blueprints to tackle climate change issues to come out during this week. Let's give Mr. Byung-gil An another big round of applause. Thank you very much. And now we will have another congratulatory speech, and this time by the Secretary General of the International Maritime Organization, Ki-taek Lim, who delightfully traveled far to commemorate this day with us today. Let's welcome him onto the stage with a big round of applause.
존경하는 송
Distinguished guest and Vice Minister Sang Keun-song, Member of National Assembly An Byung-gi, and President Choi Yoon-hee and President Kim Yang-soo, and Her Excellency Maria Teresa Dizonda Vega, the Philippines Ambassador to Korea, and distinguished guests, nice to meet with you. The Vice Minister explained about how the Korean government is responding to the issues in the maritime sector, and he also presented his vision and ambitions in these areas. And Mr. Byung-gil An has also mentioned that the Korean National Assembly will provide active support for our efforts for decarbonization and climate change response. I look forward to more activities and support from your side. Nice to meet with you again. I prepared my speech in English. So I'm going to speak in English from now on.
ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be back here in Busan to participate in Korea Maritime Week. We believe Busan is the maritime capital of the Republic of Korea and a global logistic hub. I congratulate our host, the Ministry of Oceans and the Fisheries, for once again putting together a comprehensive program to celebrate the maritime sector and to discuss opportunities, to deliberate on the current challenges that face the industry. IMO, as the global regulator of international shipping, with a comprehensive framework of instruments developed over more than 7 decades, is fundamental for shipping safety, security, and sustainability. As shipping evolves, IMO member states, along with the industry and the partners throughout the UN system and beyond, work tirelessly to ensure this framework is constantly enhanced and strengthened. The COVID pandemic and the current geopolitical issues have only served to increase the world awareness of its reliance on the maritime sector, and specifically on the shipping and the seafarers' invaluable role in the global trade. Shipping is undergoing substantial change in many diverse ways. During this transition, collaboration, cooperation, and communication remain key to ensuring that IMO's regulatory framework is constantly enhanced and strengthened. The imperative to tackle climate change is a major topic that is high on our agenda. I'm pleased to see that it is the theme of your discussions today. Later, you will look at automation and digitalization, which also present both challenges and opportunities. But there are many other strengths, such as tackling marine litter and enhancing gender diversity in maritime, that are equally important in strengthening IMO's objectives of ensuring the safety and the security of shipping, the prevention of marine and atmospheric pollution by ships, and the support for the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We must all work together to ensure that that transition the maritime sector is going through is just and equitable, leaving no one left behind. I thank Republic of Korea for their important contribution to the work at IMO and the generous support to several IMO technical cooperation programs and activities that support this goal. I'm looking forward to the discussions ahead and wish you a successful Korea Maritime Week. At the same time, I really congratulate all the participants from overseas, abroad, to join this very important Korea Maritime Week. I wish them all the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Secretary General Im, and also for pointing out the challenges and opportunities that we're facing in transitions in the maritime sector, as well as including in shipping as well. Let's give the Secretary General Ki-taek Lim another big round of applause for that speech. And now for our last congratulatory message, we have Byung-jin Lee, the Vice Mayor, that is, of Administration of the Busan Metropolitan City. Let's welcome him onto the stage with a huge round of applause.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Vice Mayor for Economic Affairs of Busan City. My name is Byung-jin Lee. I'd like to congratulate you on the opening of the 2022 Korea Maritime Week. I'd like to extend my gratitude to Vice Minister of Oceans and Fisheries Sang Keun-song and General Secretary General of IMO Ki-taek Lim and Her Excellency Maria Teresa Dijon de Vega for visiting Busan. And I'd like to also thank all the international and Korean maritime experts for visiting this beautiful maritime city, and thank all the staff for organizing this event. Korea Maritime Week is a venue where we discuss international issues regarding maritime safety and maritime environment, and has helped Korea raise its status as an opinion leader in the international community. I'm so excited that Korea Maritime Week is hosted by Busan, that aims to be a global maritime capital. IMO has recommended e-navigation. Along with e-navigation, markets for ballast water management and green ships are expected to grow exponentially. To be the first mover in these markets, I believe it's important to maintain leadership in the maritime industry and in development of international regulations. To proactively respond to global climate crisis and rapidly evolving international maritime environment, we need to engage actively in international cooperation so that we can lead in creation of new industries. For sustainable development of the maritime industry, Korea and Busan City will closely work together with the IMO to increase our commitment and contribute to maritime safety and enhancing international cooperation in order to lay the groundwork for further development of the maritime industry. The theme of Korea Maritime Week this year is challenges and tasks in the international maritime sector in the new normal era. In this conference, we'll be able to share policy directions on major issues in the international maritime sector and build a global consensus. I hope the consensus and strategies we will develop in this conference will help the maritime sector to grow further. Once again, I'd like to thank the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries for making today's event possible, and thank all of you for joining us today. I wish you all the very best. Thank you very much.
Vice Mayor Byung-jin Lee for that speech. He emphasized international cooperation to preemptively deal with issues such as climate change and development in the maritime sector. Let's give him another big round of applause. And to commemorate further, we will now have a photo session with our distinguished guests. 네, 다음은 주요 내빈들을 모시고 2022 한국해사주간 개최를 기념할 수 있도록 기념 촬영을 좀 We will continue with our program in a few minutes after the photo session. 네, 다른 참석자 여러분께서는 잠시만 휴식 취해 주시면 되겠습니다. And our guests, please take your masks off and leave them on the table. 네, 귀빈분들께서는 마스크를 잠시 테이블에 올려주시고 사진 촬영을 하도록 하겠습니다. 사진 촬영하는 동안에만 마스크 잠시 벗어주시면 되겠습니다. 네, 이미 포디움 올라오신 분들께서는 마스크를 주머니에
If you are ready on the podium, please put the mask in your pocket. We'll take a 5-minute break and we will come back by 10:40.
상상의 세상의 빛 모두 눈에 다 담길 걸 아마도 상상 못했던 일도 Wait wait 세계 같은 건 시간 낭비란 식 매일 이렇게 새롭단 듯이 다른 세상에 데려다줄게 꿈속에서 나온 것처럼 세상은 여전하지만 뭔가 달라 All the things you'll never see All the feelings you can feel Oh baby it's the present
매년 계속 보는데 당연해지 나도 오늘은 좀 색다르네 이로써 난 가늠해 분명 그건 새로운 야생선 구경은 눈만 뜨는 비전은 영원히 거리에
present 세상에 없었던 지금 이 순간이 present It's the present 세상에 없었던 새로운 생각이 present
차가 날아다니는 집 옥상에 주차했어 창문 열고 피자 배달받고 하이파이브했어 여기 30층인데 우리 집 30층인데
어느새 모든 게
당연해진 나도 오늘은 저 색다른 해 이로써 나는 가는 내 종이 위에 모두 같은 걸 그려지 멈춰있는 게 괴로워 머리를 비우고 씻어 Crazy 세상에 없었던 지금 이 순간이 present It's the present 세상에 없었던 새로운 생각이 present present
All right, we will now begin the International Maritime High-Level Discussion. This panel discussion will be held under the theme Eco-Friendly Policies and Future Visions in the Field of Climate Crisis Response-Related Shipping and Shipbuilding. And we're going to have 7 participants in this discussion, including the president of the Korea Maritime and Ocean University, Ki-do, who is the moderator of this panel discussion. So let's welcome him first onto the podium. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome him with a big round of applause.
여러분 반갑습니다.
Nice to meet with you all. I am the moderator of International Maritime High-Level Talks. I am president of Korea Maritime and Oceans University. Today, we're going to discuss response to climate crisis and eco-friendly vision for the future of maritime and shipping industry. I would like to thank all the participants for this talks, and I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the Vice Minister, Mr. Sang Keun-sung, Honorary President Young Hee-choi, and the Secretary General of IMO and many other distinguished guests for taking their time to participate in this session. Before we start the talks, I would like to introduce those participating in the session, including the Vice Minister. First of all, Vice Minister Sang Keun-sung and Mr. Ki-taek Lim, the Secretary General of the IMO. Her Excellency Maria Teresa Dizon de Vega, the Ambassador of the Philippines. Mr. Chung Deok Kim, the President of Korea Maritime Institute. Mr. Young Woo Kim, the Vice Chairman of Korea Shipowners Association. Mr. Hyun Seok Han, the Vice President of Hyundai Heavy Industry. Then we're going to open the special talk with a keynote speech from the Vice Minister. Please welcome me with a big round of applause.
Good morning again. I'm Vice Minister of Oceans and Fisheries, Sang Keun-sung. With 2022 Korea Maritime Week, we are holding the International Maritime High-Level Discussion under the theme of eco-friendly policies and future vision of maritime and shipbuilding sectors in response to climate change, which is very meaningful. I'd like to thank Secretary General of IMO, Ki-taek Lim, who came all the way from London, and President of Korea Maritime Ocean and University, Ki, and Her Excellency Maria Teresa, the Ambassador of the Philippines, and the President of KMI, Kim Jong-deok, and Chairman of KSA, Kim Young-woo, Kim Jong-deok, and the CEO of HMM, for joining us today. Climate change response is the urgent issue in all countries around the world. There is no doubt about it. This is an international common issue. So it is a high time for us to take actions. Shipping and the international shipping industry are no exception. we have the Secretary General of the IMO is here with us. IMO has set targets to respond to climate change. To meet the targets, and in order to even meet more aggressive targets, we have to pull our heads together. That is why we have invited Korean and international maritime experts here, and we also need cooperation from people in the industry and academia, including the shipbuilding industry and the shipping industry. We have to pool our wisdom together. As you heard at my opening speech, EU, the UK, and the US, they have introduced preemptive measures. The UK introduced the Climate Bank Declaration, and Green Shipping Corridor and Green Shipping Challenges are good examples to show and demonstrate the global efforts to respond to climate change. As you can see here, many countries around the world are working hard to reduce greenhouse gas emission and to introduce low carbon or zero carbon vessels. So this is the theme of this International Maritime High-Level Discussion, as well as the Korea Maritime Week, and we are going to spend the next 3 days on these topics. Especially we have the Secretary General of the IMO and all the high-ranking officials from the IMO with us as well. Mr. Dominguez, the Environment Director, Mr. Zhang Xinjiaozhen, the Technical Director, they are here with us as well. They will be actively participate in our discussion in the Korea Maritime Week. This means that we will have constructive discussions and conversations in this conference. Personally, for about 2.5 years, since 2018, I've been working as maritime officer in London. And in MEPC meeting back then, I participated in the process of setting the IMO target by 2030. I was there in person. Back then, I thought it would be a very ambitious goal to meet, but under the excellent leadership of the Secretary General of the IMO and cooperation and hard work of the member states, we agreed to set this ambitious target. And I realized that decarbonization is our way to go. This is the direction and pathway we have to move forward. And to achieve the goal, we have to come up with new ideas. As I emphasized in my opening speech, we have to accumulate evidence, and we have to share the data and evidence with the industries, such as the shipbuilding industries and shipping industries. We have to provide them with input. Secondly, international coalition will be very important. How can we do it? Personally, I think these international problems cannot be solved by only one country or one country alone. There have been ongoing discussions on zero carbon ships and zero carbon measures. There is no right answer to that yet. We are trying to find the answer now. Ship owners are actively participating and engaged in the process. What alternative fuel will be the fuel in the future? And investment is needed, but ship owners are hesitating to make an investment because they don't know which alternative fuel will be the fuel. And decarbonization requires tremendous amount of money. Once again, one country cannot solve this problem alone. Even if we have an alternative fuel in place, we also need fuel supply systems at ports around the world. Only then we can ensure reliable operation of zero carbon ships. And here the prerequisite is coalition and cooperation between countries. Then we have also this issue of capacity building that we should help for less developed countries. Small island countries need assistance and help to increase their capacity. Otherwise, we won't be able to achieve our target. In that sense, Korea Maritime Week will be a very important venue. Not only this international maritime high-level discussions, but other expert sessions will provide us in-depth discussion. Let's use our collective wisdom. Let's face and solve the global challenges facing us. Let's work together. Let's come up with constructive ideas and discussions. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Vice Minister, for your keynote address. I would like to ask other distinguished guests to make the keynote address. First of all, I would like to ask the Secretary General of IMO to make his address. Please give him a big round of applause. Actually, I've been living in London and I have to greet in a Korean way, but I forgot to greet you in Korean way because I've been living in London. I am very glad to see Mr. Young-moo Kim, Mr. Hyun-seok Han, and also the CEO of Hyundai Heavy Industry. Nice to meet you all. As the Vice Minister mentioned, two high-ranking officials from IMO, Mr. Domingel is here, and Mr. Xiaojie Zhang is also here with us. And in the area of climate change action in shipping industry, Mr. Sveinen Oftedal is the leader. We have other important experts here today. As Vice Minister explained, when London established climate strategy in April 2018, on March 6th, in March in 2018, the Queen visited the event commemorating the 70th anniversary of IMO Foundation, and the Queen made a joke as well, and the audience had laughed, and we had Mr. Young-moo Kim from Korea who participated in the ceremony as well. From Saturday till the 19th of September, I was in London for the funeral of the Queen, and I came to Korea last night. So the Vice Minister explained about climate change and the relevant actions. I was surprised to know that when Vice Minister was working in the Korean embassy in London in the past, he had a very professional experience there, and Vice Minister has a correct understanding of the current situation, and I saw him making comments without reading any script. It means that I truly believe that the Vice Minister correctly understands the current situation. And the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries of Korea has such an excellent organization. Indonesia, Canada have similar structure to that of the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries in Korea. but there are not many countries that have a separate government department dedicated to all the affairs related to the oceans and fisheries. So the organization of the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries of Korea is so special and advanced. And there are many government-funded research institutions like the Institute of Maritime Research, CRISO, and other universities related to maritime education, and the Institute of Maritime Technology, as well as the shipping safety related corporation. There are many research institutions under the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries. Most of those institutions are located in Busan City. There is no such a country like Korea that has such intensive organizations of oceans and fisheries and maritime sector among OECD countries. So I am proud of Korea Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries. And the Vice Minister explained about the Korean government's commitment to the maritime sector, and we have a high expectation for the role of the Korean government. And I prepared my address in English, so I'm going to speak in English from now.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to be here once again in Busan, where I spent many years as a student of nautical science at the Korea Maritime Ocean University, and later as a president of Busan Port Authority. I'd like to take this opportunity to commend the government of Republic of Korea and the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries for the establishment of Korea Maritime Week. This week is an important fixture on the international maritime calendar where pertinent high-level discourse take place on relevant issues. Shipping is close to my heart, and here in Busan, we see every day that shipping is truly essential to ensure the functioning of the global supply chains. The COVID pandemic and current geopolitical challenges have only served to increase the world awareness of its reliance on shipping and the seafarers' invaluable role in the global trade. Since shipping is a truly international industry, it must operate with the framework of international standards. Corona alert 신호입니다.
Sorry, that's the COVID-19 alert, the message that is sent to all residents in Korea.
Is the comprehensive regulatory framework developed by IMO over more than 7 decades to ensure shipping safety, security, and efficiency and environmental performance. Its 50 international conventions form a global regulatory framework that is fair and effective, universally adopted and universally implemented. IMO's regulatory framework covers all aspects of international shipping, including ship design, construction equipment, manning, operation, and disposal. As shipping evolves, IMO member states, along with the industry and the partners throughout the UN system, work tirelessly to ensure this framework is constantly enhanced and strengthened. Automation and digitalization are transforming shipping and bringing both challenges and opportunities. The imperative to tackle climate change is a major topic on IMO's agenda, but we are also thinking necessary steps to tackle other environmental issues, such as a targeted strategy to address marine litter from ships. We also highlight the important role that seafarers play in all the work carried out by IMO, reflecting the key role of a human element in the safe, secure, and environmentally sound operation of ships. The transitions that are currently occurring in maritime sector, in particular, decarbonization, automation, and digitalization, place an obligation on all stakeholders to ensure that these are just and equitable transitions that leave no one left behind, and that seafarers from all countries have the opportunity to acquire the right skills to continue to contribute to international shipping. The maritime professional of the future will need to be equipped with new and different skills and knowledge. We must rise to the challenges and create a workforce that will operate tomorrow's green and smart ships safely and securely. To support this process, IMO currently considering a global project to accelerate the digital transformation in the partner countries that will identify capability and resource gap and look into seafarers' training requirements for the digital era. Digitalization is already being harnessed to support great efficiency of shipping. IMO has adopted mandatory measures for electronic data exchange between ships and the ports, and the maritime single window for the handling data within port environments. Alongside this, we need to manage the risks of cybersecurity. Autonomous ships of different sizes with differing levels of automation will become more commonplace. To provide the regulatory framework for these developments, IMO is working on a goal-based instrument for maritime autonomous surface ships. On the climate change agenda, IMO member states have committed to revising and strengthening IMO's GHG strategy while taking on board the needs of developing countries to ensure that policies and measures do not deepen the existing divide between developed countries and developing countries. Impact assessment of the proposed measures are vital tools to support this. IMO member states have initiated discussions on a maximum carbon content for marine fuels, alongside the market-based measures such as GHG levy, emission trading system, fee-based, or an incentive scheme to encourage the development of zero-emission vessels and the global availability of zero-carbon fuels. We also are encouraging discussions that explore opportunities for developing countries to accelerate renewable fuel production that can also serve to accelerate their own transition to low-carbon economies. The green imperative and consequently IMO regulation is helping to drive innovation in ship design, propulsion, along with research and investment into alternative low and zero emission fuels. IMO regulations are technology neutral, setting goals, not prescribing technology. IMO is also providing platforms to encourage information and technology sharing. One of those is the IMO UNEP Norway Innovation Forum that IMO will host next week to promote inclusive innovation for decarbonization of the maritime sector. And October, the second IMO symposium on low and zero carbon fuels for shipping will discuss how ensure a just and inclusive transition toward low carbon shipping. Before I conclude, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the government of Republic of Korea for its important input in the work of the IMO and for the generous support to IMO's work through the Voyage Together Trust Fund, as well as capacity building and technical cooperation efforts. In addition, another trust fund established in 2003 has supported various technical cooperation activities and fellowship at the World Maritime University and at the IMO International Maritime Law Institute. In particular, the Republic of Korea is generously funding the IMO Inclusive Transition to Alternative Fuel Project and the Sustainable Maritime Transport Training Program, which is called GHG SMART, developed specifically to address the needs of least developed countries and the small island developing states in their implementation efforts of IMO GHG strategy. Instantly, a practical training session is taking place this week in Busan. Turning to another very pertinent topic, the safety of fishing vessels. I do appreciate the Republic of Korea's stated intention to ratify the Cape Town Agreement on fishing vessel safety. The 11th of October will mark 10 years since the agreement was adopted, and I encourage all to work hard to achieve the entry into force of this key treaty. I also take this opportunity to congratulate the Republic of Korea on establishing the country's permanent mission to the International Maritime Organization, which it opened last year in London. Ladies and gentlemen, at this pivotal time in history, shipping is undergoing complex and substantial change. Maritime transport remains the most economical and environmentally sustainable mode of transportation of large volume of cargo. By working together collaboratively and cooperatively, we can harness the transition now taking place to make shipping greener, more resilient, more efficient, and more sustainable for the benefits of all. With that, on top of the commitment by the Vice Minister, Mr. Song Sang-gun, I know there is a bureau looking at IMO issues, which is a Maritime Safety Bureau within the Ministry of Ocean and Fisheries. I know the current Director General, Mr. Tae Seung-jung, for the excellent preparation and the support for the IMO. Really appreciate it. And also from IMO, on top of the directors, we have a senior officer, Mr. Young-so Kim, who is working for the promoting partnership project to support developing countries. Also really appreciate your hard work. And also, I would like to conclude my message. Already, Vice Minister mentioned, highlighted. As you know well, as I mentioned, there are different relevant organizations under Ministry of Ocean and Fisheries regarding maritime, particularly regarding climate change policy issues. Climate change policies is something working to reshape all model operation of a ship. It brings about a huge change to shipping. You may feel some, from the challenges from the climate change policies, but you can see opportunities from the climate change policy. So IMO is developing a climate change policy. We want to conclude to adopt a final strategy toward 2050 by middle July next year. So from now on until July next year, critical time to conclude our GHG strategy toward 2050. So with that, those distinguished participants present here, I'm looking for your strong support for IMO to successfully complete the adoption of a second final GHG strategy middle of next year. Thank you very much.
네, 임기택 사무총장님 감사합니다.
Thank you very much, Secretary General.
Now I'm going to introduce you President of KMI, Kim Jong-duk, is going to deliver his keynote speech. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
I'm Jong-duk Kim, the president of Korea Maritime Institute. My institute belongs to the National Research Council for Economics, Humanities, and Social Science under the Prime Minister's Office. First of all, I'd like to congratulate this meaningful event, Korea Maritime Week 2022, and the International Maritime High-Level Discussions. It's my highest honor to join these meaningful sessions and discussions. Unfortunately, I prepared my speeches in Korean only, so I'd like to use this my paper, and please use your simultaneous interpreter receivers for foreign participants. Thank you. 안녕하세요.
Good morning, everyone. I'm president of KMI. My name is Kim Jong-duk. My organization is one of the 26 government-funded research institutes. We are under the Prime Minister's office. Among the economic government-funded organizations, we are the only one located in Busan. As the IMO Secretary General said, my institution is located in Dongsan as well. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you on the opening of the Korea Maritime Work, and it is my great honor to be part of the International Maritime High-Level Discussion. Vice Minister of the Oceans and Fisheries and Secretary General of IMO already mentioned the importance and the significance of IMO's activities and the ministry's activities. And I won't repeat their comments, but I still want to enhance the awareness of the issue's importance, and I'd like to deliver the key message from my institution as well. As you may well know, for the past 2 weeks, Korea experienced 2 typhoons. Several years ago, we had a series of typhoons for 3 weeks. Now we are hearing news that another typhoon is coming, the west coast of the country, and Korea will be under the influence of the typhoon according to weather forecasts. Typhoons have become kind of indispensable part of our daily life. They have become stronger, and they come more frequently. And almost every day, we are hearing stories. The ice is melting in Arctic areas, and the sea level is going up. And we are also hearing news. The torrential rains in tropical areas have great impact on national economy of the countries. This is not news. This has become kind of normal. We are experiencing extreme weather events because of climate change, and many scientists said this is what we have because of climate change. IPCC of the UN created this convention to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius by 1.5 degrees Celsius compared to the pre-industrialized era, and IMO has introduced its own targets for greenhouse gas reduction. These examples show international organizations are trying to lead the global efforts to respond to climate change. And there are candidate measures under each strategy, and we also have to do evaluation on each measure so that we can effectively respond to climate change. And the final strategy will be adopted shortly, if I understand correctly. The IMO's regulation will have an impact on shipbuilding industry. it will have a great impact on the shipping industry, not only shipbuilding industry. Shipping industry is responsible for 80% of the global trade with an annual capacity of 100 million tons. So we need a new way to do our business. Business as usual will be gone. So in Korea, we need national action plan. We needed a national action plan at the national level, and at the international level, as the Secretary General said, GHD SMART program will be needed, and that is a system program for developing countries. We also need other additional assistance programs for countries around the world. In this process, specific countries, particular regions, or particular companies, they cannot solve this problem alone. We need cooperation from all sectors, including academia. Personally, I think as we face this climate change issue, and personally, I believe my institution has a role to play here. My institution has been a participant of international conferences dealing with maritime issues, and we are conducting researches and to lead decarbonization momentum. KMI will do its best, and we are also trying to come up with more strategies. And KMI has been closely looked at IMO's regulations, and for the past 5 years, it has conducted researches, and those research results will be integrated into the national action plan. And KMI also has a contribution to other plans. International standardization and development of regulations will be also the areas we will work on for the next decade. And KMI has a long way to go. It has a role to play in the future as well, but it will closely work with the IMO, and it will provide support for least developed countries so that we can continue to contribute to the international community. Ladies and gentlemen, the Earth will not give the humanity enough time to respond to climate change. The Mother Nature will not give us enough time. And short-term response requires us to adapt to changes rapidly. So in order to solve climate change, the global issue, we have to move in one direction. That requires international cooperation. KMI believes that Korea is a global maritime hub, and KMI will continue to support Korea to further develop. Thank you so much, President Kim Jong-duk, for your keynote speech.
Next, I would like to invite Mr. Young-Moo Kim, the Vice President of Korea Shipowners Association, for the keynote address. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Young-Moo Kim, the Standing Vice President of Korea Shipowners Association. I have something to talk to the interpreters. I actually gave my presentation material to the interpreters, but I learned a lot while listening to the previous speakers, and I added a few more slides. If I talk about things that do not exist in the slides, please do not get embarrassed.
전달됐죠? 그럼 나 이거 빼겠습니다.
I will speak in Korean. I'll make it short. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Standing Vice Chairman of Korea Ship Owners Association. First of all, I would like to congratulate the opening of Korea 2022 Korea Maritime Week. I am very pleased to greet you here. I would also like to extend my sincere gratitude to Mr. Sang Keun-sung, the Vice Minister of the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries. I would like to thank the Secretary General of IMO who came here after the funeral of the Queen. I would like to thank Yong-hee Choi, the Honorary President, and I would like to thank the Philippines Ambassador to Korea and all other distinguished guests and participants for their presence today. Recently, IMO announced their research report on greenhouse gas emissions. About 360 million tons of carbon has been emitted across the world. And shipping accounts for 3% of that. Compared to other industries, shipping emits relatively smaller amount of carbon dioxide. However, with increasing world trade, the total emission from shipping is increasing at a rapid speed than we expected. So many people in the maritime industry will have to make more efforts for decarbonization. Recently, in many countries across the world, we witnessed extreme weather events. They are the symbols or signals that we don't have much time left before we see climate disaster. And also today I learned that the international organization like IMO are considering to adjust the greenhouse gas emission reduction target upward. We, the Korean Ship Owners Association, will do our best as well for decarbonization. In order to reduce GHG from shipping, we have to make decarbonization transition. In the past, we relied on coal, gas, and conventional fossil fuel. We have to move beyond the fossil fuel to make a transition towards green fuels like ammonia. The first diesel engine vessel appeared in the human history, and the diesel-fueled vessels have been operated for over 100 years. Now we are trying to make a change. We are measuring the whole life cycle carbon emissions across the fuel production and consumption process. Also, greenhouse gas emissions in different regions through different routes will be measured and will have to be reduced. Now, many countries and industries, including shipbuilding industries, are going through difficulties in meeting the regulatory expectations regarding the green fuels. And many industries take great interest in biofuel and other green fuels these days for shipping. It has been important to enhance navigational or operational competitiveness in the shipping industry. From now on, we have to consider not only capex and cost efficiency, but also we have to consider greenhouse gas emission reduction. Reducing greenhouse gas emissions will be our core competitiveness. In terms of the shipbuilding industry, the current changes and decarbonization and green transition will serve as an opportunity. And ship owners will have increasing demand for eco-friendly fuels. And we have to ensure stability and reliability of the green fuel as well. And we will have to reduce the emission from shipping. In today's special talk, we will discuss various topics, including eco-friendly shipping and autonomous maritime surface ships and other matters that will be very important for ensuring safety of the shipping industry. If we don't make green transition in a timely manner, then the entire industry will face serious crisis. However, depending on the type of fleet and depending on the type or characteristics of the route, we will have to secure proper green fuels. If we succeed in these efforts, we will be able to enjoy great success. But the opportunities do not just come without any efforts. We will have to work all together to seize and enjoy the opportunity of success. As Vice Minister mentioned, decarbonization and digitalization will be the mainstream trend we have to follow. And cooperation among different countries and organizations is essential. And as the Secretary General of IMO mentioned, Korea has the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries that consists of systematic and intensive organizations and departments committed to this sector. And we will have to make an active use of maritime clusters. In addition, Korea has the Secretary General of IMO, which means that this IMO Secretary General is from Korea. In this regard, Korea should be able to take further responsibility and sense of responsibility. Korea should not lag behind other countries in the efforts for decarbonization and digitalization in shipping and maritime. In the new normal era, there are many challenges and tasks we have to achieve. I hope that through Korea Maritime Week, we will have fruitful discussion and find solution to ensuring safer environment for the earth and creating a blueprint for the future. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your address.
Now I'm going to invite the Ambassador of the Philippines, Her Excellency Maria Teresa Dizon de Vega, for her keynote speech. Please welcome her with a big round of applause.
안녕하세요.
Good morning, everyone. I'm the Ambassador of the Philippines. My name is Maria Teresa Dizon de Vega.
Vice Minister Song Sang-kun of the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries of Korea, IMO Secretary General Lim Ki-tak, the Vice Mayor of the Busan Metropolitan Government, Lee Byung-jin, our other distinguished keynote speakers, Mr. Kim Jong-dok of the Korea Maritime Institute, and Vice President Kim of the Korea Ship Owners Association, and distinguished and esteemed guests. Good day to you all. Magandang araw. I am so honored to address experts from around the world, including academics, business and industry leaders, and government officials, as we once again come together to review current agenda and plan future strategies for the maritime sector. In May 2022, President Yoon Suk-yeol of the Republic of Korea pledged to turn Korea into a new maritime power based on stable shipping supply chains and advanced infrastructure technology. This was a pledge he made in front of an audience very much like the one here today, government officials and esteemed members of the maritime and fisheries industry. Clearly, the Republic of Korea sees great value in cooperation on maritime issues at every level. Just like the Republic of Korea, the Philippines is a maritime nation. As a country composed of more than 7,641 islands and a coastline that stretches more than 36,000 kilometers, our seas define our life and our identity as an archipelagic nation. We laud and watch these pronouncements by Korea closely, standing ready to cooperate in various initiatives that will address unprecedented challenges to the maritime and fishing industries, the shipping industry, revitalizing declining populations of fishing villages and fishing resources, addressing competition in international trade, and ensure that we sail across safe seas through smart, automated, and environment-friendly autonomous ships. The maritime character of our geographies have supported mobility and connectivity that have led to flourishing industries in shipping, shipbuilding, tourism, trade, internally and across the region and the globe. And of course, we must always remember the fishing industry, which is vulnerable to the negative impacts on the environment. Marine litter and plastic pollution are global problems and multidisciplinary challenges that require a comprehensive approach. The effects of marine pollution do not respect the imaginary boundaries we have made in the oceans. Its impact on water and food supplies, public health and industries are a shared problem that requires shared solutions. As a maritime nation, the Philippine seas and resources have defined our history and also fuel our present, and it is our responsibility as stewards to ensure that healthy and sustainable oceans will be the inheritance of our future. To this end, I am pleased to announce that the Philippines just adopted in November of 2021 a national plan of action on the prevention, reduction, and management of marine litter, which is a blueprint to enhance our efforts in resource and waste management and to bring new momentum to addressing marine litter issues and the control of leakage or waste into bodies of water. We will be guided by this plan of action as well as existing regional cooperation mechanisms such as those in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations or ASEAN and in multilateral platforms such as in the International Maritime Organization or the IMO with its targets on a framework for a more sustainable global maritime ecosystem in the steps we take to protect and preserve the marine environment. Like Korea, the Philippines likewise hopes to usher in post-pandemic prosperity by creating a dynamic, stable, and secure maritime economy. We look forward to working with international cooperation partners and experts present here today to forge a systematic and integrated response to guide actions in addressing challenges and opportunities arising from the new maritime-related environment. The international maritime sector in the new normal era will present multidisciplinary challenges, as many of our speakers today mentioned, and these require a comprehensive approach. In the past few years, we have seen the rise of non-traditional security threats that will not respect the boundaries we have made in the oceans. This requires shared solutions and multi-stakeholder approaches, and some of these have already been mentioned very passionately by many of our speakers today. Technology transfer and capacity building should be at the forefront of our global response, which is why the Philippines welcomes Korea's initiatives in investing boldly in maritime science and technology and future industries to create a dynamic and sustainable maritime economy. The shipping industry is dynamic, and the urgency to take measures for reducing the carbon footprint is substantial. I am pleased to note that Korea has taken steps to recognize the value of a green ship and potential strategies to increase energy efficiency and decarbonize global shipping. The shipping sector has the power to positively change the impact on the environment and play a leading role. Our countries are likewise exploring ways we can integrate Korean mastery and technology in shipbuilding with our tradition and expertise. We continue to explore ways we can integrate Korean investments in the Philippine shipbuilding sector with our need to improve the quality of maritime education in the Philippines for human resource development. Discussions on the policy level is likewise important. As I speak now, representatives from the Foreign Ministry, Security, Fisheries, Defense, and law enforcement agencies of both the Philippines and the Republic of Korea are currently engaged in high-level discussions to boost cooperation on maritime issues. Excellencies, esteemed guests, this week in Busan, we have repeatedly emphasized that the seas are our lifeline. As Philippine Ambassador to Korea, I look forward to fruitful and substantive discussions during Korea Maritime Week and the maritime high-level discussions, cognizant of the fact that we must remain responsive to the ebb and flow of challenges in the maritime domain, as well as accelerate and expand the cooperation and support between nations in the maritime and ocean space. Once again, I wish you all a very productive Korea Maritime Week and high-level discussions. Thank you. 감사합니다. Mabuhay.
Thank you so much. Let me apologize. The ambassador has another task to do, so she has to leave early. So I'd like to ask for your understanding.
Now, I would like to invite the Vice President of Hyundai Heavy Industry. Please welcome him with a big round of applause. Distinguished guests, good morning. I am Young-Seok Han, the Vice Chairman of Hyundai Heavy Industry. I sincerely congratulate the opening of 2022 Korea Maritime Week. As you know, due to COVID-19 pandemic, we were not able to have offline meeting for the past 3 years. This is why today's Korea Maritime Week is more meaningful and significant for all of you, and this is a very good opportunity for us to share our idea and opinions. As mentioned by other speakers before, in 2020 we had 2 typhoons in 1 week, and we had 2 typhoons during 10 days this year, which brought about big damage to the country. The main reason for this is the climate change. Due to global warming, people across the world are experiencing climate change. In Europe, they are experiencing unprecedented drought. In Asia, excessive flood took the lives of many people. In Korea, many citizens, many residents suffered damages due to typhoon. The main reason of climate change should be tackled through our actions. We have to also prepare various preventive measures. Distinguished guests, I believe that Korean shipbuilding industry is doing a lot of activities to respond to climate crisis. I'm going to share that information. In order to build vessels in compliance with the IMO regulatory framework, the shipbuilding industry must make their utmost efforts, and we also have to establish infrastructure to supply the type of vessel required by the shipping industry. For example, fuel supply devices, development of new vessels, eco-friendly, high-efficiency vessels are currently under development. And such vessels should be supplied to the global shipping companies. And I think the shipbuilding industry has great responsibility to take and fulfill. I'm going to talk about alternative fuel technology we have. Recently, in the maritime industry, LNG, methanol, or other low-carbon fuels are being developed to be used for vessels. And some of those fuels have already been applied to vessels. And ammonia, hydrogen, and biofuel and other alternative fuels are being considered, and we are doing research on how we can apply such fuel to vessels. We are also developing fuel tank technology, fuel supply technology, and fuel propulsion system technologies in cooperation with academic institutions and other businesses. Such technologies will help us reduce greenhouse gas emissions. However, we have to establish the infrastructure to produce, distribute, and supply such fuels. Establishing such an infrastructure should be done successfully when we adopt the green vessels. Along with the adoption of alternative fuels, we have to enhance energy efficiency of vessels through technology development activities. Energy efficiency improvement is important for reducing greenhouse gas emissions from shipping and to reduce the cost burden. Rotasail, wing sail, hard sail, and other wind-assisted propulsion system is being developed, and air lubrication system is also being developed. We are trying to figure out how we can apply those systems to the vessels to optimize fuel efficiency. It's also important to eliminate biofouling, and we have to use smart technologies to optimize the navigation and operation of vessels. Also, we should work on the shore power supply system. Such technologies are under development or have already been applied to reality. Next, we have to think about developing new vessels to make use of liquefied hydrogen, for example. We need liquefied hydrogen carrier and liquefied carbon dioxide carriers. Such carriers should be developed as fast as possible, although it is currently difficult to develop them at a full swing. Until we adopt zero carbon vessels, LNG is going to make great contribution to reducing the greenhouse gas emissions from shipping. Academic sectors and the businesses should cooperate with each other and develop technologies regarding these systems. Lastly, we have to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from shipyards. We are making utmost efforts to reduce such emissions. For example, we apply IPCC greenhouse gas emission reduction criteria, and we are transforming our facilities in an energy efficient and eco-friendly way. Maritime transportation is an eco-friendly and energy-efficient transportation means, which takes up over 80% of the global cargo capacity, cargo volume. So shipping industry is playing the pivotal role in smoothing the global trade. Although they experienced difficulties due to COVID-19, as global trade gradually recovers, the speed and volume of cargo trade will increase. So we have to prepare ourselves against climate crisis. Climate crisis should be resolved through the cooperation and efforts among different countries and different organizations across the world. As a member of the maritime community, and the heavy industry is also participating in the climate actions. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you. Thank you very much for your address. Then we would like to set the stage for special talks. We will have a very short break to set the stage for the discussion.
Ready for the discussion session. So it's going to take a few minutes, but we would please like you to remain here. We are a little behind schedule, so please wait until we get ready for the stage for the discussion. So following the 6 presentations that we just heard, we will have a panel discussion with our speakers, and we're going to quickly get the stage ready for that. So we will see you in a bit. We will now soon begin with our discussion as we see that the stage seems to be ready now. So everyone, please take your seats. We're going to now begin with our panel discussion. 네, 여러분 모두 착석해 주시길 바라겠습니다. 네, 이제 특별 자담이 시작될 예정입니다. 여러분 자리에 착석해 주시기 바라겠습니다. We're now going to begin with the discussion, everyone. So please take your seats. All right, we're now going to start with the discussion, the panel discussion. So please take your seats. We're going to begin right now. So let me start with introducing our 7 members of the panel discussion. It's actually 6 members now. First off, we have Vice Minister of the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, Han Geun-song. Let's welcome him with a big round of applause. And next we have the president of the Korea Maritime and Ocean University, Deok Hee-do, right here. Let's give him a big round of applause. And the Secretary General of IMO, Ki-taek Im, also please come up onto the stage. Let's give him a warm round of applause. Also, we have the president of the Korea Maritime Institute, Jong-deok Kim. Let's give him a round of applause as well. And the Vice Chairman of the Korea Ship Owners Association, Young-moo Kim, please come up onto the stage. Let's give him a big hand. And we have the Vice Chairman of Hyundai Heavy Industries, Young-seok Han. Please come up onto the stage. Let's give him a big round of applause. All right, and now I will turn it over to President Deok Hee-do, who will moderate the discussion. The microphone is yours.
지금부터 오늘
Now we are going to start discussion related to the keynote speeches you have just heard in the previous session, and each keynote speaker will give us more details on their insight. So we are going to spend about 1 hour from now on the discussion. This is how we are going to do the discussion. We have about 10 topics. I'm going to ask you to discuss about 5 topics. And I'm going to ask all of you, all the participants on the stage, question. And I'm going to ask different questions to different speakers. First, I'd like to ask Vice Minister of Oceans and Fisheries a question. The Korea's Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, as you said in your keynote speech, is trying to reduce greenhouse gas emission. Is there any specific plan for that goal? Thank you for the question. As I said in my keynote speech, we are working closely with IMO. By 2030 and by 2050, we have specific targets. to reduce greenhouse gas emission, and we are trying to introduce more aggressive targets. In recent MEPC, EEDI, EEXI, and CII, they are all energy efficiency measures. They have been introduced, and they have specific targets to achieve by 2030. In Korea, as you can expect, is trying very hard to achieve the targets as a global maritime hub. As you know, as a technical measures, EEDI, EEXI, and CII were introduced as of today. Korean shipping companies have ocean-going and international vessels, and some of them, actually a lot of them, are not meeting those targets. So by 2026 and 2030 and 2026, not only the government but the shipping industry should work together. The shipping industry in Korea is facing challenges. This can come across as a challenge. But I don't believe that we have to ask the shipping industry to deal with this alone. As I said earlier, the government has introduced a green ship action plan. So once shipping companies introduce green ships, the government will provide them with incentives and some benefits. In that sense, ship owners, in some sense, some ship owners say that's not enough, but still, I would like to emphasize that to replace aged vessels with green vessels, the government will do everything it can, and the government will introduce operational measures to achieve the targets of greenhouse gas emission. But it is also important that we have to comply with market-based measures. IMO is working on market-based measures. This requires international cooperation. We have to set an international target first, but eventually we have to transit to low carbon and zero carbon vessels to make more low carbon and zero carbon vessels available on the sea. As the HMM Vice Chairman said, the shipbuilding industry and the government should work together to make the low carbon and zero carbon vessels possible. Thank you very much for your answer.
Now, I would like to ask IMO Secretary a question. Currently, IMO is discussing 2050 carbon neutrality goals. What is the most critical challenge you think in IMO's 2050 carbon neutrality goals? Shall I speak in Korean? I'll speak in Korean. As mentioned before, in 2018, IMO established climate change strategy. The strategy says that it will reduce emissions 40% by 2030, and by 2050, it will reduce the total emission from all shipping by 50%. If you consider the number of ships that will increase, it means that we're going to reduce emissions by 80%. Based on the 2018 strategy, we have to establish final strategy that will be applied till 2050. Then, what should be our goal for 2050? We have to determine the proper level of goal. And the other thing is related to the fuel. How much CO2 will be included in the maritime fuel, marine fuel? And thirdly, carbon pricing. In other words, market-based measures are currently being discussed. Regarding these issues, we have to consider the impact on developing countries. Developing countries will have to spend a lot of investment expenses, and they will have to pay quite a lot of cost. And especially, how are we going to help developing countries, especially the small island countries? Ultimately, we have to help developed countries and developing countries understand each other's perspective and reach a consensus. And I believe that now both developing countries and developed countries have a higher understanding on climate change convention. And countries like Korea is giving the full support for the climate change actions. And we have Mr. Sweden Alfdadal from Norway. Norway is also giving strong support for climate change actions and the process where we reach consensus and agreement. So for now, we have to make aggressive efforts so that we can reach conclusion by July next year. Thank you very much for your comments.
Now I'd like to ask the president of KMI a question. It's about alternative fuels like zero carbon fuel like ammonia and hydrogen. Do we have to use more renewable energy sources? Is there any obstacle or barrier that prevent us from using these new renewable energy sources? Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm the president of KMI. As you may well know, we will see more different zero carbon fuels like renewable energy sources and wind power. I think those new energy sources will be used to power ships. From a user's perspective, we have to make sure we have technical reliability. Korea's shipbuilding capability is one of the world's best, so I believe Korea has technical reliability, but still something could happen at sea. We have to have technical measures in place. This cannot be solved by one sector. We need cooperation in technical reliability between sectors. Secondly, we should have commercial reliability. Shipbuilders, when they have new infrastructure or new equipment, the first thing they worry about is cost, and they will increase operational costs as well. So we need a clear structure about how we are going to share the cost, and we also have to make sure we have security at sea, specifically for communication. So we need to provide more support for shipbuilders and ship owners. From technical perspective, the Korean shipbuilders and the ship owners need to have more conversations for further cooperation, and for the commercial reliability, the shipping companies and shipbuilders and ship owners, they should take their cooperation to the next level. Thank you. Thank you for your answer. The reason I'm going fast is that we have one questions prepared, so I'd like to answer as many questions as possible.
Next, I would like to ask a question to Mr. Young-Moo Kim, the Vice Chairman of Korea Ship Owners Associate. Now, alternative fuel is essential to achieve decarbonization. And in order to use alternative fuel in vessels, it is very important to establish the supply infrastructure, which includes both hardware and software. Could you share with us your opinion about this? Now, there's no standardized alternative fuel, and no standardized infrastructure exists for the supply of alternative fuel. In the case of Korean shipping industry, we receive support from the government in promoting green shipping. We received support from 3 years ago. Korean shipbuilding industry is working on green ships, and we are also going through retrofit of the existing vessels. Actually, it is not easy to develop eco-friendly fuel to the level that we can be satisfied with. And going forward, eco-friendly fuel like low carbon or zero carbon will be developed, but it's difficult to ensure consistency in such fuel development, and different regions have different level of resources. So countries and regions will have to make joint efforts and cooperation. The Vice Minister also mentioned the importance of cooperation. In the case of the vessels that operate through the regular routes, if they reach agreement or consensus between the ports that they move back and forth, then they will be able to use alternative fuel in a more efficient way. But in the case of the vessels that go through the different routes with irregular schedule, they might have some difficulties in establishing the relevant infrastructure. So infrastructure to supply alternative fuel is very important, but that cannot be done only through businesses in the market. So in order to expand the alternative fuel supply infrastructure, we need support from different stakeholders. In the mid to long term, if carbon tax or emission trading system are adopted, then quite a lot of revenue will be collected. Then we can use the revenue for education and training of the personnel at the port so that we can establish eco-friendly fuel supply infrastructure. All these issues and matters cannot be successfully done by a single country or by a single carrier. So it's important to join our hands together among different organizations across the world. Thank you very much.
Now I'm going to ask Vice Chairman of Hyundai Heavy Industries, Han Yun-seok, a question. From corporate perspective, as you know, we are trying to use renewable energy sources like wind, not just ammonia and hydrogen. So what is the biggest obstacle to commercialize ships and vessels powered by the renewable energy sources? Hyundai Heavy Industry, does it have any specific plan for that? This may sound the same question that was asked for the KMI. Ammonia-powered vessels and vessels powered by renewable energy sources. To commercialize those vessels, we are working on technology development. Shipyards, however, can do only so much. There are some limits. So we need cooperation from our suppliers. We have to work together with our suppliers to make certain technologies available. Let's say we have a source technology, but from the moment that we develop the source technology to the moment the technology is commercialized, huge investment is required and time is required. So the biggest obstacle facing us can be solved by government support. Yes, it is important for the government to support the shipbuilding industry, but the government support should be given to shipping companies as well, and the academy as well, of the research community as well, so that all the sectors can trust each other. They can build a trust mechanism, and the shipbuilding industry and the research industry and the shipyards, they should go hand in hand in one direction, but that is not happening now. Can I take some water? So we should build what I call this a triangle trust or cooperation mechanism. Yes, we do have support from the government, but the government should increase investment in renewable energy sources so that those energy sources can be commercially available. So all the sectors should work together from the shipyards perspective. Shipyards are spending most of their time and efforts on R&D. The Korean shipbuilding industry, I would call it K shipbuilding, is leading, I believe, the global shipbuilding industry. So K shipbuilding, for it to be the leader in the global market for the next 50 years, K shipbuilding industry should be the leader in development of technology. So shipyards, they will continue to work on R&D. We have many guests from shipyards here today, and ship owners. We have ship owners as well, and I'd like ship owners to be engaged in developing new technologies so that we can build a stellar record in R&D. So I'd like to ask kindly the ship owners to engage in this common effort. And lastly, as the Vice Minister said earlier, supply chain is important. Low carbon fuel and zero carbon fuel, yes, they can be available in the market, but without infrastructure, we cannot make most out of it. So we need supply chain, reliable supply chain, such as bunkering system. So we need to have them ready before low carbon fuels and alternative fuels are available in the market. So this also requires cooperations between sectors. Thank you so much for your answer.
Due to time constraint, I will have to ask the common question. The common issue here is the chicken and egg issue. Which one should come first? So we have been continuously discussing which comes first, but the mandatory characteristics is very important. My question goes to the Secretary General of IMO. At the IMO, there is a discussion on market-based measures. Centered around the EU, they're discussing carbon levy and many other market-based measures to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from shipping. Then if such greenhouse gas emission reduction measures are implemented, then what kind of specific aspects do we need to consider? For example, insurance company is a good example because, for example, through blockchain-based transaction system, the greenhouse gas emissions can be restricted based on the blockchain and token technology. So that is one of the ideas I read before. Have you considered such option, or what kind of plans do you have regarding the technical tools or measures to respond to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions from shipping?
The door for raising market-based measure. Market-based measure is very simply carbon pricing system. So when it comes to market-based measure, a different type of a measure. One is a carbon levy to the bunker price. Second one is the emission trading system, depending upon the size of emission. So different and some combination methodology. But when it comes to the methodology, using blockchain, I heard that modality, but at the moment that method to use blockchain is not yet discussed at IMO. At the moment, IMO is focusing on levy issues and trading modality and the combination. I have to say about the European policy. European Union is one of a major group of a member states who is negotiating with the IMO, other member states. But the European Union, they made a decision to implement the European emission trading system from 2023, next year. It's a huge impact the global shipping community. However, European Union is now in the process to having consultation process. Based on that the policy, they have a consultation in terms of feasibility into the market. So that the feasibility, if feasibility proved to be effective, workable, they will implement sometime next year or sometime 2024. But this is contrary to the global solution which should be produced, developed by International Maritime Organization. Majority of a global shipping community, majority of IMO member states, out of 175 member states, they prefer global, unified, universal methodology. That's why IMO is developing our market-based measure. So market-based measure can generate some good size of financial resources. With this money, we are expected to use to helping island country, in terms of sea level rise, and also R&D of alternative fuel, future fuels. And the third one, helping developed countries. The Vice Chairman, Mr. Kim, mentioned about that element include supporting refurbishment of port facilities in order to reduce the supply chain cost. So this is the overall situation. That's why we hope we adopt main principle of a market-based measure by middle of next year when we adopt second final strategy toward 2050. So market-based measure has been not much welcomed by developers, but at the moment there is an extremely important increase of support, understanding of a market measure. That's why with this opportunity, I hope a Korean shipping community, together with international community, supporting for IMO to adopt most appropriate and balanced the market-based measure, hopefully, definitely middle of next year. So I will myself look into that another modality using a blockchain, which is very interesting. So I will look in that. But if we have any other opportunity, I will have another chance to talk about that methodology. Thank you, President.
네, 대단히 감사합니다.
Thank you.
In the interest of time, we have to stop here, and unfortunately, and I wish we have more time. We have heard from the speakers on IMO's perspectives and policies for Korean ships. And we also heard about Korean policies from the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries. We also shared perspectives of ship owners and shipyards. And we also heard a voice from a research institute. As you heard in this discussion, they share something in common, and they have their own voices and interests as well. And I hope what we discussed here helps the global community to reach a consensus. And next year, I look forward to seeing you with more timely topics. Thank you so much for being with us.
Maritime high-level discussion. Thank you for your insights. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our panel of experts and our moderator another big round of applause. 네, 그러면 저희가 무대가
After we set the stage, we're going to take a commemorative photo and
All right, if you're all ready, please look at the camera and smile all together. Do we have everyone here? Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile. 네, 다 같이. 아직 올라오시는 분들 계십니다. All right, if you're ready, let's take the photo. Let's smile everyone. 네, 모두 미소 지어주시기 바라겠습니다. 네, 밝게 웃어주시면 좋을 것 같습니다. 자, 그럼 이번에는 더 힘차게 파이팅을 같이 외쳐주시면 좋겠습니다. Let's make a fist with our right hand and say fighting together the Korean way. 1, 2, 3, fighting! Okay, great. And the last time, let's make a heart with our fingers like this. 네, 손가락 하트 한번 해주시고요. 또 다 같이 사진 찍도록 하겠습니다. 네, 하나, 둘, 셋. 네, 그리고 마지막으로 현수막 안 잡고 계신 분들은 다 같이 박수 한번 치면서 또 찍어볼까요? Let's clap all together to commemorate this moment. 네, 좋습니다. 네, 수고해주신 분들 너무 감사드립니다. Thank you very much for the photo session, and you may return to your seats for the lunchtime. So this concludes the opening ceremony of the 2022 Korea Maritime Week. Now, after the luncheon, our session 1 will begin right here at the venue at 2:30 p.m. So we ask for your continuous participation. For our VIP guests who have not yet gone to the venue for the luncheon, please take your VIP card that we handed out and go to the ballroom on the first floor. And for all other participants, you may remain in your seats and lunch will be served. So please wait just a moment. 네, 그럼 이것으로 2022 한국해사주간 개회식을 마치도록 하겠습니다. 참가자분들께서는 자리에서 점심이 제공될 예정입니다. Enjoy your lunch, everyone, and see you back at 2:30. 네, 2시 반에 다시 뵙도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.